Right, well, here we go. This is completely unscripted. This is Rich, the International Retiree. I'm really happy you're here. Thank you very much for watching. I'm happy you found the channel. Or if you came from the newsletter, I publish a newsletter once a week. If you come from there, then very, very, very happy you've come to the channel to actually meet in person and see me in person, to know that there's a real person behind this newsletter. And ultimately, I'm just a guy who is 54 now. I've spent most of my adult life abroad, living and working online through all kinds of countries. You could refer to my guess as a kind of one of the OG nomads. Not in the sense, not like these young teenagers who they'll leave school or university and they'll go on a trek around the world and get into all kinds of trouble and have lots of wonderful experiences. I love those channels. What I've done is slow traveled with a family, with ultimately an income to support me along the way. And I figured it out right early on back in 2001, the end of 2001, when I asked my boss in Tokyo, Japan at the time, if I could work remotely. And at the time, it definitely was not a thing. People kind of perked their ears up when they heard what I was doing, back home in the UK where I'm from. They thought it was pretty cool. They didn't see very much of me, of course. I ended up in Canada for about 10 years thereafter. And it's been a fascinating journey, ultimately. And at this point, I have lived and slow traveled, ultimately providing for myself and my family for 24 years and counting, online, entirely online, with a couple of occasional sabbaticals where I taught English in different countries, again abroad. I taught English and ultimately working online at the same time. But just have that in-person, that connection with people and with the natives, with the locals in the country that I was in, which is a lot more rewarding. If you ever go to a country, that's my one piece of advice, is find a way of becoming integrated in the community. That's the only way, and this is why, again, I'm a big proponent of slow travel as opposed to just kind of hopping from country to country. It's not about checking boxes and about how many countries you've been to. It's about, to be honest, you'll learn a lot more by slow traveling through just a small number of countries and going through the whole rigmarole, the hassle of moving your home there, essentially. All the red tape, the logistics involved, the visas, the health concerns. There's so many different aspects, aren't there, when you actually, the difference between staying in a hotel for a week or two, or even a month, and actually living there. And building a life in a new country, that's a whole different kettle of fish. And that's ultimately why I'm here. This is my calling, because I see a massive need right now in the world for all kinds of reasons. People find their retirement checks their pensions aren't covering their expenses. They're afraid about the future. They're witnessing the rising cost of inflation. They've seen the cost of goods go up just when they go to the supermarket by a huge amount. And it's kind of a terrible state of affairs to be in, and quite worrying for many. And then, of course, you've got AI in the mix as well, which is ultimately coming for everybody's lunch. Sadly, it's quite an uncertain future that we have. And ultimately, there's a need. And people have asked me and spoken to me about this. And shown an increased interest in my life story, I guess you could call it that, in ultimately living over 90% of my adult life outside my own country. And I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to sugarcoat it until it's been easy, but has it been worth it? Hell yes. It's been an incredible adventure. And ultimately, what is life? I mean, we all work hard. I've worked hard, but I've never had a problem with the trade-off. Because for me, I've always had that. I mean, not everybody is wired this way. I'm not going to pretend that everyone should be slow traveling through numerous countries. But at the end of the day, what I will say is, yes, the trade-off has been incredible, because When I look back over my life, and I'm 54, which isn't young anymore, but it certainly isn't old either, it still feels in many ways like I've lived several lifetimes. And that really, I can tell you at my ripe, not old age, but older, more mature age, has been probably the greatest gift of all, beyond, of course, being a father, having a family, which fills me up in ways that words don't even cover. But being able to have lived several lifetimes in effect. Because look, here's some proof that this is true. You know, when you, let's say the day where you just focus on one thing all day long and you're super productive and you get it done. And then the next day you look back and you think about that day and it kind of seemed to fly by. And that was because you're in flow state and you're working on the one thing. Contrast that with a day, let's say you're on holiday or perhaps it's a weekend and you were sightseeing, maybe even giving a tour, as I've done happily, to family members, showing them around where you live, and they've come to visit, what have you. And you go around, obviously, trying to do everything, right? You find a nice coffee place or two and a nice place to eat several times a day, and there's various sites. And when you look back at that day, how much longer does that day appear in your memory, right? And it's no different when it comes to slow travel. I am literally, my head is full of so many happy, incredible experiences, like anyone. And I'm not detracting, I'm not going to take away from anyone's own life experience. I mean, life is, there's plenty of excitement regardless of whether you just live in one country or the next, but that's not my point. The point is you can create this illusion, this wonderful illusion of having really several lifetimes in one by simply making the decision to go abroad and spend it might be the second chapter in your life at a later stage. And not only that, for many people, of course, it brings them so much more vigor and excitement. They almost feel like a child again. And I have to tell you, I mean, look, I'm rambling on now, but that's another aspect. When you're in a foreign environment, foreign meaning two meanings, not your own country, but also an unfamiliar environment, then you're learning things constantly. There may also be a language barrier where you don't understand and your brain's taking everything in and you literally feel like a child. You can be humbled too, when maybe you say the wrong word or you get in a fix because someone's impatient with you and you can't explain yourself. And, there's all kinds of experience you have, but the bottom line is, you have that excitement by living in an unfamiliar environment, and there's a sense of adventure about that. Again, just like a child, right? You see the sense of wonder in a child's eyes, and it's a beautiful thing, an excitement. And again, some of my happiest memories have been related not to travel, but to my children. One of my favourite stages of a youngling's life is when they're in their chair, they can't walk. We're talking maybe 4 or 5 months or something, and they're there and they're very much aware of their environment. And they do, and there's so much intelligence in the human body and in the universe. But basically, what they do this thing with their legs, where they just vigorously kick their legs up and down like this. And while they're doing this, you see their eyes and they're lit up and they're like this. It's a beautiful thing. And again, there's that awe and that excitement. And you can't capture that if you're just doing the same old, same old. And look, I mean, I've been blessed with some genes. I've had a bit of photo aging, but many people say you don't look 54. And maybe a small part of that is being a huge part is probably being a father. But I also believe that it's this the travel that's done that for me. Again, the sense of excitement about getting up. Or what are we going to do tomorrow? Or just getting out of bed and thinking, wow, this is great. Like, what's something new that I'm going to discover today? Maybe it's a dish that's too spicy. I just recently wrote a travel story. It's a 4-part series, and it begins with me really having a come to Jesus moment after eating a plate of chicken and cashew with chilies in Thailand. My first trip to Thailand, and that was really something. My body was not equipped to handle that. But there's, like I say, there's these whole series of experiences that you have, which really you look back and, as I am now, you laugh about. And I have so many fond memories. So look, at the end of the day, this isn't about me going on about how wonderful my life has been. The point is that I really do feel this calling now. Because again, I see this need in the world. If I can somehow wake people up, give people a nudge to at least give it a try, to go overseas, to travel, to spend the second chapter of their life, to have a second wind, if you like, by going overseas. The biggest mistake, the biggest obstacle I see, I've thought about how I can, what's my mission? It's all about removing obstacles to your dream retirement. That's kind of the phrase that kind of came to me. And that's ultimately what it is. And the biggest obstacle I've seen by far in people I've spoken with over many, many years now is it's overwhelming. Like, it's just such a big project to uproot and leave, and there's so much you're leaving behind, and there's so many it just seems, and then it's just too much, right? But one unlock I've found is that if you just say, hey, you know what, like, this isn't, nothing that has to be permanent. Put your stuff in storage. You're not burning any permanent bridges, but go abroad and commit, not just to a couple of weeks, but to a month or 2 or 3, to really, as I said before, to really get in deep, get to know the locals, and really then you can judge. You don't have those rosy tinted spectacles, as they say, that you always have on a holiday, right? It's long enough to have a really true picture and get into enough trouble in all kinds of ways to really understand if this is for you, right? And so, that's the first piece of advice. But look, at the end of the day, this is just a video. I just want to introduce you to really what my purpose is, my calling, why I've created this channel, and really a massive warm welcome. And I really hope you get a lot out of the channel, what I have to share here. I've got loads of stories. Also my newsletter. Please don't hesitate to sign up. I've literally just created it. It's a work in progress. Even this video, to be honest, I've got my iPhone on this wiggly stand, and when I know if it rocks a bit, it's because I've knocked the table and it wobbles, and I've got this ring thing, and I'm not even sure what side to have it on. But look, I'm doing my best here. I'm getting started, right? Because I do feel I have a lot of value, a lot of experience to share, and ultimately, yes, my calling is I want to help people. And I'm excited. So I've just started the newsletter. Yes, I was going to say, there's nothing scripted here, I hope you can tell, is my website where you can subscribe to the newsletter and follow along. There's going to be lots of things I'll share in a moment. The website address is International Retiree, of course, double E at the end, internationalretiree.com. That's the website. You'll see on there, you'll see the latest stories. And you'll be prompted to subscribe, so please subscribe. And you can also go to internationalretiree.com/subscribe. So again, internationalretiree.com/subscribe. The benefit of going there is you'll actually be offered, there's a freebie that you'll get sent, you'll get to download. That may change over time, so I'm just keeping it for the sake of this video, this welcome video, open. Right now it's, why don't you go and see what it is? That's my invitation to you. So yes, so basically the newsletter covers, the way it is now is a travel story. It may or may not be in a few parts. I sometimes have a feature on a particular destination, which I think will be useful to you if you're considering, where to go, where to retire. And there's a travel joke I started a couple of weeks ago. It's only been running for a month, by the way, so super new. Again, just weekly. So travel joke, which is, a bit of fun. And also something I'm really into, and people have asked me about, is longevity. So at the time of shooting this video, I'm 54. I've got a lot of I don't have photo aging. My skin is, by far from perfect. But for some reason, my hair hasn't gone grey yet. Again, I've been blessed by good genes, but I was starting to go grey. I can say this at the end of my 40s. I was around 48. I noticed, and I was going grey here and a little bit up here and on both sides. and certainly which I have a few here. But I've learned a few things. I won't get into now why I kind of started down this rabbit hole of health, but I had some challenges, and ultimately I've benefited from it. So the reason I mention this is another section in the newsletter is on longevity and health hacks, as I said, because it kind of sounds nice. Health hacks, longevity tips. So there's a section on that as well, which I think is really important, right? There's no point in, finding your paradise, retiring somewhere and settling down and being really happy, and then finding yourself in hospital, or that you're not able to live your best life. Right, to be less doom and gloom. Maybe you're just not able to hike anymore or something, right? So yeah, it's a big project. By the way, this project is a real passion project of mine. I've put this off for about 5 years at this point, okay? Because the scope of it and what I want to offer and share is so huge. It is a big subject, let's face it, right? And I've had to wait until now to have the opportunity to actually scope it out and think about how I can really give the most value and the most help. So the reason I say all that is because I really would like you to subscribe and hit reply and respond to me and tell me what you need. And also, please comment below. That's another thing. I'm new to YouTube. Please comment below what you think was useful about this video, and what you would like me to shoot a video on in this channel. Again, this is the first video. It's a brand new channel. Welcome. I hope it's even recording, to be honest. I don't even know. We'll see. It's raw and uncut. And that's another reason why I've delayed it, because I can't be bothered with all this editing business. And I felt like I wasn't up to par, but I think the best way to do it is just to be authentic. And I think in this age of AI, it's even more important. So yeah. Thank you again for watching. Warm welcome to the International Retiree. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And also the newsletter. Actually, I'll put the link below in the description as well, but it's internationalretiree.com/subscribe. This is Rich. Thanks for watching. Bye.